Reason number 8 that your next boat should be a Caymas. Caymas Cash. Do you fish tournaments? Now you have up to 10,000 reasons to run a Caymas. Today, many boat brands offer contingency programs, but none of them deliver bigger payouts than Caymas Cash. With over 1,000 sanctioned events each season, you could win $10,000 for a win in a platinum event or $2,500 for being the highest finisher in a Caymas boat. There are silver and bronze events that will get you paid as well. Check out our Caymas Cash contingency program by going to CaymasBoats.com and find out why it pays to run a Caymas. Duckett Fishing's Jacob Wheeler Select Series. We asked Jacob Wheeler to pick out his favorite 6 rod designs, and we supercharged them with X-helical coil construction, carbon nanotechnology, and tri-level graphite integration to produce a rod with unparalleled performance and superb balance. Check out the Wheeler Select Series by going to DuckettFishing.com. We got to be better, people. It's time to evolve. The 1980s version of bass fishing tournaments where we sack them up, take them to a weigh-in, it needs to change. We have the technology to hold catch, measure, weigh, and release tournaments, so we don't need to stress the fish. Bass Pro and YouTube superstar Randy Blockett does a phenomenal job of making us aware of issues that affect this great sport of ours. Randy has a series of videos this week on YouTube that talk about how poor the fishing has become on Missouri's Table Rock Lake. It just seems like the fish that used to be there just aren't in the places they used to be anymore. I think we can all kind of sympathize with that. Well, I think that the poor fishing that Randy is experiencing on Table Rock Lake is similar to what many of us see in our favorite lakes. I don't live near Table Rock. I've never been to the lake. I flew over it once. I don't doubt the fishing has gotten tougher at Table Rock, but I think there might be other factors for the decline in the fishery. At this point, we probably need to have a discussion about the bass tournaments that we fish in. I love to fish in bass tournaments. I am a great donator at these events. When other competitors see me a-coming, they smile because they know there'll be money in the fruit jar tonight. For those of you that don't get the reference, the fruit jar is in the olden days where we used to put our money in, and then we'd go out and fish a tournament and come back in. Whoever had the most weight got the money in the fruit jar, hence the term fruit jar. Okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. We are not as good as we think we are when it comes to taking care of the fish that we catch in tournaments. Yes, we see the fish swim off after we weighed them in. It's the eye test. I saw those fish swim off after I sacked them up, weighed them in, took my pictures. I walked to the edge of the ramp, let the fish go. They all swam off. They were happy as could be. So of course they're okay. But seeing them swim off should not be believing that they're all right after the weigh-in ordeal. Listen to what Major League Fishing's Stephen Barden has to say about fish mortality in tournaments. This Auburn University study that was produced, I think it was at the end of last year or middle of last year, some really shocking numbers. The study says as much as 45% of the fish weighed at these tournaments suffered mortality, whether it was pre-release mortality or post-release mortality. I'm sure you're familiar with the study. How do you react to that?
Yeah, it's not shocking. The truth is, since the 80s, there's been studies like this that have been occurring across the country, and they just don't reach outside of the scientific community very often.
So let's just say it's as bad as the Auburn study indicated. Let's say that 45% of the fish we catch in tournament are going to die either in our live wells, that's we call pre-weigh-in mortality, or after we weigh them in. That's what we call post-weigh-in mortality. It's the post-weigh-in mortality that you and I never get to see. We see these fish swim off after we've weighed them in. And we think, everything's great. Everything's fine. Look at that fish swimming upright, swimming out to deeper water. Things are perfect. So let's say we send 100 boats out on Table Rock. It'd probably be a small event for Table Rock, because I know they get bigger events all the time there. But let's say we send 100 boats out on Table Rock. And let's just say that that these boats all catch a 5-fish limit. I don't know. If it's a team tournament, it's a 5-fish limit. Gosh, if it was co and pro, it might be more than that. But let's say each boat brings 5 fish to the weigh-in. If my math skills serve me, that is 5 fish by 100 boats. 500 fish are brought to the weigh-in scales. So 100 boats go out on Table Rock. They each bring in a 5-fish limit. That means 500 bass are brought to the scales. And that means, according to the Auburn study, that 45% of those fish, which, more math, is equal to 225, are going to suffer some form of mortality as a result of being captured, put in the live well, driven around the lake all day, sacked up for the 2 to 3 hour weigh-in process before they're finally released. Now, if we eliminate 225 bass every day there's a tournament, we can begin to see why the fishing at the lake starts to suck. Not only are we perhaps causing the mortality of 45% of the tournament fish we catch, we're also risking the most aggressive fish in the lake. I call them the dumb ones, because if I tricked them, they ain't smart. If you've got 10 fish on a brush pile and you catch 2 aggressive fish while the other 8 smart ones sit there and don't bite, well, you're going to end up with a lake full of smart fish. I just can't compete with fish that are smarter than I am. So, the way we currently run tournaments, we're putting the most aggressive big ones at risk for 45% tournament mortality. By the way, the bigger ones are, of course, the females, who we need to complete the spawning cycle. You see where this all goes?
What was kind of interesting, or maybe shocking with this, is that they found that on the Coosa River fish, the tournament anglers were catching larger, younger fish, and predominantly females. So what that tells us is that as anglers are competing in an event, they are catching fish that are younger, more aggressive, faster growing. And then if we bring those fish to the weigh-in and they have a higher chance of mortality, then we're slowly taking those fish out of the genetic pool. And what we're being left with is slower growing fish that are maybe more difficult to capture.
I'll bet Table Rock Lake has a lot of tournaments on it. There's 52 weekends in a year. I'll bet there's midweek, multi-day events, bass club team tournaments, and so on. I'd venture to say that tournaments and tournament mortality is why the fishing isn't good at Table Rock anymore. I do know this. We have the ability to run tournaments without weigh-ins. We have the ability to eliminate holding fish in live wells for long periods of time and then putting them through the ordeal of a weigh-in. I do know that. I'm calling out tournament directors, bass clubs, Windy Wednesday nighters, Tuesday fruit jar jamborees, Thirsty Thursday nighters. Try saying that fast. And everyone else who fishes bass tournaments. Let's figure this out. I'm calling on YouTube influencers. Make this a quest of yours. If we can tackle the issue of forward-facing sonar, I have to believe we can push this in the right direction. Look what the kayak industry has done with their catch, measure, photograph, and release format. Their fish go right back in the water. Look at the tournament companies that have sprung up. Tourney X, Fishing Chaos, excellent products. Hey, Fishing Chaos, you've partnered with some heavy hitters out there in the bass fishing world. Let's see you come up with a format that's going to reduce the risk of fish mortality. It's time. I'm Keith Neiswanger. This is the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to reach us, please send us a direct message on Instagram at Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. Take care. Be safe. We'll talk to you next time.